Hello and welcome to another episode of the Marc Medley Show. This is the Marc Medley Show, and it is a podcast, and this is your host, Marc Medley. Thank you so much. Always a thrill and a pleasure to be with everyone on this particular platform, on this particular medium. And today's podcast episode is not necessarily a new topic for me, as I've addressed the issue before, but I honestly believe that as we have these platforms, that we need to use them to our advantages and to send messages out and to gain support for things that just seems like they're a little bit odd. And what I'm talking about today, I did one a few months back about the whole customer service experience, and I'm still on that issue because it seems like customer service, for the most part, continues to bottom out. Now, I can only speak for the state that I am in because I don't think every state has taken on this particular practice, and I get it in terms of our ecology, in terms of global warming, in terms of plastic not melting and staying in the ocean for hundreds of years, so forth and so on. I get that. However, it's a combination of things that I am really concerned about in terms of the customer experience. As a customer goes into a store, he or she or they are going to go in and ultimately purchase something where they're spending their hard-earned money. So one would think, and I honestly hope this podcast, this episode gets forwarded or passed around to some of our store executives, to some folks who manage stores, who run stores. One would think the checkout or the pay experience would be created to be the best part of the deal. In other words, you walked around a store for however long you're in there, whether it's a half hour, 45 minutes, hour, 10 minutes, whatever. You've walked around the store, you've decided what it is that you would like to purchase, and then it's time for you to pay. This is where the issue generally comes in. I am not a fan of self-check. I'm just not, with the exception of if I have one item. It makes some sense to do self-check with one item, but not when you have a basket full of items that you're trying to check out, or if you have very large items, or if you happen to be elderly who have absolutely no clue as to how to operate a self-scan machine. You know, like you have the little thing, the scanner that looks like a little gun, and then you have to figure out the UPC. That's the code where you have to scan, and you have to get that, and then you have to read the instructions on the screen as to whether or not you would like to pay, or would you like to keep shopping, or now, and don't let something go wrong. Because if something goes wrong, now everything gets filed up. You don't know where to go next. And this is where you have all these people standing around, for the most part, in my opinion, doing nothing. They're just standing there looking to see if somebody has trouble. And then they'll walk over, or they're standing and saying, next in line, are you paying with a card? Are you paying with cash? Then go to this machine, go to that machine. When in all actuality, they could have been standing behind a cash register. I was in a store the other day, a very large home item store. I won't say the name of the store, but you can figure it out. It was the store that has taken the place of little local hardware stores. I'm in there to purchase, I believe I was purchasing a plant or an air conditioner, or I'm not sure because I've made multiple trips to the store for one thing or another. But I'm standing there on the line and I hear this elderly gentleman behind me say, why can't we just have cashiers like we used to have? I could not have agreed with him more, and I wanted to shout hallelujah and amen because I thought it was just me that was standing there thinking the same thing. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to think what it was. It wasn't the air conditioner I was buying. It was something a little bit smaller because I actually did. No, it was my air conditioner. I'm sorry. I purchased an air conditioner because it's been so hot in the New Jersey area of late. And it was my air conditioner. And I was using my store card compared with my debit card. Now, normally, if you use the debit card at the self-scan, you insert the card and you input your debit card number. If you're using the store card, however, the procedure is a little bit different because the store card does not have a chip, so therefore you have to swipe. Where I'm going with this story is I had the wherewithal and the sense enough to understand what happened once I inserted it into the machine and I kept getting an error message. That's when I figured it out and said, oh, this is the store card, not my debit card. So therefore, I am going to have to swipe it. Now, everybody is not technologically savvy. They may not have come to that conclusion. So the lady that was standing there monitoring, she walks up to me and says, is everything okay? And I said, yes, everything is fine. It's just that I had to figure out the difference between me inserting my debit card versus me putting in the store card. And I figured it out that I would have to swipe it. So, but I turned to her and said, I have to agree with that gentleman back there. Why can't we have just cashiers as we've always had? And she said, oh, but you look like you were doing fine. I said, I was doing fine. I understood it. I got it. I got hung up a little bit in terms of the card. But as far as the process, no, I was fine. However, everybody, as I said, is not going to have the wherewithal to figure out the difference between the chip versus the swipe versus using a debit card versus using the store card. And so she looks at me and she says, well, I guess everybody's going to have to adjust. And that's the point of this particular podcast. Everybody should not have to adjust when they are spending their hard-earned money. Lines will be going around the store and you will have one cashier open. You will have one cash lane open until finally they realize that this line is wrapped around the store, and they'll call somebody else from the store who's standing around trying to look busy, who isn't really doing anything other than standing around trying to look busy. They could be on a cash register. That's my point of this particular podcast. And again, I hope it makes its way some kind of way. I hope it goes viral. I hope it makes its way to executives, to these major chains and stores where people are coming to spend their money. There's another restaurant chain that, regardless of where in the country that I've been in lately, and I've walked into that particular chain, every time I walk up to the cash register, it's wide open, empty. Nobody's standing there to serve you. Standing there at the counter, looking at the menu, waiting for somebody to come to the cash register, nobody comes. They're always in the back somewhere doing something. And so at this point, I begin to get turned off and I turn around and I walk out the store. But this particular restaurant chain, and again, I won't name it, but they do soups and they do sandwiches and they do salads. I'll leave it at that. But for the third time in 3 different states, I've walked up on one and the cash register has been wide open. No cashier sitting there, and they're all doing other little tasks. And then they look at me as if to say, and I'm like, no, I'm here to purchase food. My point is this, and I get it in terms of, because every one of these places have help wanted signs. So for those folks out there that are singing that lie that they can't find a job, that's just what it is. It's a lie, because there is very few places, very few services that don't have help needed, help wanted signs in their windows. It doesn't matter if you're going to auto service, doesn't matter if you're going to a restaurant, doesn't matter if you're going into a regular store. It does not matter what type of store you're going into. All of them need employees. So this whole notion of I can't find a job, no, you don't want to work. And that's just calling it as it is. That's just making it plain. It's not a matter of you can't find a job. It's just a matter of you don't want to work. All right. So going back to the customer experience, it would seem to me that if I'm owning or running a store, that I would try to make the time a customer is trying to pay for their items, the checkout, it seems like they would want to make that experience the best. And what I've been observing, because I can be very observant at times, what I've been observing is that is the worst part of the experience. That is the part for me where I'm almost ready to put whatever items I had back, because it's not worth the aggravation to me to stand in this line forever for them finally to get me processed out. Now, thank God for these cell phones and these tablets, because they do pass the time as you're sitting in this line. I mean, next time you go into a store, take a look at the checkout line and watch how everybody's fiddling with their phone. That is a nice distraction, and it does pass the time for you. But we should not have to stand in a line that long in order for us to pay for items that we've already walked around the store for. And again, my heart goes out to those who are not technologically savvy, to those who cannot read, for the elderly who just may not understand how this technology works. And yet you're forcing folks to have to do that, because as you go into stores, the option of going to a cash register is becoming less and less. They may have one cash register open and everything else is self-checkout. In terms of passing along the cost, and I've said this in episodes before, you would think, since they're cutting down on cashiers, that a cost savings would be passed along to the customer. Since they have to do it themselves, since they're going to have to scan themselves out, seem like prices would lower. Same thing with the banking industry. I've never understood how they converted to ATMs, automated teller machines, did away with tellers, and then you still have to pay a fee to access your own money. For example, and I've used this example before, if I want to take out $20 out of my checking account and use my debit card, it's going to cost me $3.50 to $5.50. So instead of me getting $20 out of the bank, I'm now going to have to take $23.50 or what have you. I don't understand that. That's just, again, something I don't understand. And again, I can't speak for every state. I know here in the state of New Jersey, where I am, we've now done away with bags in stores. So when you go grocery shopping, you now have to bring your own bag. When you go to any type store, you have to come in the store with your own bag, and which again, that has now caused someone to have to stand at the door to make sure no one is shoplifting, because now they're standing around doing nothing when they could have been on a cash register. I mean, I don't know about you, but again, I said I'm very observant, so I will watch the various employees who are in the store, who make it look as if they're stocking or they're straightening up the clothes or they're straightening up the rack, this, that, and the other, when in actuality, in reality, they could be on a cash register. The payout or the checkout or the paying experience ought to be the best, because that's the last thing you do before you walk out the door. Guess what you're going to remember? The last thing you did. Guess what you're going to talk about to folks saying, I'm not going to that store again, because every time I go there, I have to stand for almost an hour before I finally get checked out. Now, the reverse holds true. If you have a good experience, and sadly, in terms of customer service, good experience has now become the exception instead of the norm. So when you do have a good experience, it leaps out at you. When you have a courteous cashier, when you have one or two people that'll come over and say, you know what, let me open up another register because I see the line is 5,000 feet long. When you have that, or when you get someone that smiles, or you get someone that acts like they want to be on the job to serve you as you spend your hard-earned money, it is an absolute delight. You can't help but want to email the manager. You can't help but want to send a letter or call the manager out and give that person a commendation just to say, you know what? They act like they wanted to be on this job. They made me feel like they wanted me to be here. They made me feel like they were happy that I purchased something in this particular store. And we won't even get on these, again, I talked a little bit about the automated teller machines, but we won't even get on these conversant systems when you're trying to call somewhere, because this whole thing is about customer service. So when you try to call and you get one of these prompts, press 1 to do this, press 2 to do that, press 3 to do that, press 4 to do that, press 5 to do that. Some of those have up to 9 or 10 prompts, and then they have the audacity to say, if you need to hear the menu again, press 1. Well, I don't know about you, but by the time I get to number 10, I forgot what 1 through 9 was. So, I mean, this is the kind of nonsense that I'm talking about in terms of what we call customer service. It is no service. Let's be very clear. It is not customer service, and it is very bad service. So I just wonder sometimes, am I the only one who gets frustrated with this? And I don't think so, based on that gentleman that I heard exclaim in the major or the giant hardware store the other day, can't we just have plain old regular cashes? Can't we just pay with a cashier? I could not have agreed with that gentleman more. As a matter of fact, he was saying, I'd like to be able to use my VA discount. I'd like to be able to use my veterans discount. See, I don't know if the self-scan will allow you to put in veterans cards or AARP cards or any other type cards where you get a discount. I don't know. And if they do, folks don't know how to do that. Next time you go into a store and you're looking at somebody try to do a self-check, watch somebody when they have trouble, when they get hung. When they get hung up or they get tied up or the machine doesn't scan correctly or if you scan 2 items by mistake and all that kind of stuff, because now you got to take that, somehow you got to get that retracted. Whenever now the scanner has hit something twice or has scanned your item twice, now you some kind of way have to get that retracted, which now that takes a process. Sometimes you might have to start scanning all over again. I don't know about you, but this whole notion of calling that customer service, that is not customer service to me. That is not customer service. Doing everything yourself. And as I said, for one item, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But even that, I would still rather have a cashier because I like the human contact. I like the human interaction. I don't know where we're going. It just seems like in every area, we are on a downward slide. And I'm not a pessimist. Trust me when I tell you, I am not a pessimist. I do not like to constantly be always complaining or talking about things not going the way they ought to go. But seems like more than me ought to be observing. You walk in a store, you don't get a bag. Now, again, I can only speak for this state. I don't know if other states have followed suit or not. You walk in a store, you don't get a bag. You have to bring your own bag. Then you have to go around and you put your items in loose. Then when you come to check out to pay, you have to do that yourself. And if you didn't bring a bag in, your items have to go out in your hand loose or in the cart. And now many stores are saying, no, you can't take your cart with you to your car. It must stay here in the store. So it's just, where is this notion of customer service? And I'll throw that out as a question. If somebody has feel free on whatever platform this is shared on, if it allows a comment section, please feel free to go and make comments if you have thoughts, ideas, and suggestions, because and I could be by myself, but I don't think so. I just don't see the way we do business now as being customer friendly. I don't see it as being customer service. And for the few times that you do get somebody that gives you good service, man, does it stick out? Or does it leap out? Because it is the exception. It is not the norm. Sadly, our norm has become very bad customer service. That's what our norm has become. And folks have come to expect that the customer service is going to be bad. Folks have come to expect and allow themselves to be treated any old kind of way with the buying experience, because that's just the way it is. As that lady said in that particular hardware store, I guess we all are just going to have to adjust. Now, I'm struggling with that kind of an adjustment because I'm spending my hard-earned money. I'm spending money that I have to put hours into in order for me to earn and to get, that does not take long to spend, that I'm going to now be in a store and having to get confused on how to pay, or I'm going to have to wait forever in terms of being able to get my items paid and walk out of the store. So I don't know about you, but that just does not seem like customer service to me. So many of these companies have slogans and mottos that says you're in good hands, and I have yet to see any of those companies that claim they have such good hands treat me like they have good hands. I've dealt with a couple of companies that their slogan is similar to that. You're in good hands with such and such. You're in good hands with such and such. It comes time for customer service, them hands are not that good. They really are not. But again, that's just me. I'm not throwing any shade on anybody. However, if it hits you, as they say, if the shoe fits, wear it. I'm going to say again, I honestly hope this particular episode makes its way to some executive's desk, makes its way to some executive ears, and maybe some changes will start being made. And if nothing else, if enough people listen to it and pass it on, they might say, you know what, he has a point there. We are not being served well when we're spending our hard-earned money. We are not being served well for when we're patronizing a particular store. We're being treated any old kind of way, even though the expectation is not only am I going to spend my money, I'm going to spend more of it. Because now we have this thing, as we've always had, this thing called inflation. Everything is higher. When you go food shopping, the bill is higher. Your utilities are higher. At the gas pump, the prices are higher. And yet the service keeps getting lower and lower and lower. Prices keep going higher and higher, and service keeps going lower and lower. There's something wrong with that gap. And I just don't believe I'm the only one. I pray I'm not the only, but if I am, then you know what? That's the purpose of the podcast, is to provoke thought. somebody ought to be listening to this saying, he's got a good point. And it ought to generate some conversation. You know what? If enough of us get together and say, no, we're not going to take self-check. No, we're tired of ATM fees. If enough people start rallying around, they start getting in touch with their legislators, they start getting in touch with these company presidents. If they start getting in touch with folks, enough of us, because there's power and strength in numbers. If enough of us could get together and say, this is ludicrous. I work hard every day, and now when I go to the store, I have to work just as hard just to get checked out. All right, well, that is the advantage of having a platform. We sometimes need to use our platforms to make change. And I don't see any reason why we should not be able to use our podcast platforms and any other communication platforms we have, whether it's social media or whatever, to start making some change, because we are on a downward slide and we continue to go further and further down, deeper and deeper down. Things are not getting better, folks. And folks need to start raising some issues with some of these things. This is your host, Marc Medley. As always, a pleasure being with you. If you want to know more about me, please go to my website, marcamedley.com. That's MarcAmedley.com. All of my various platforms, everything that I do is there. I host a live radio show each Saturday morning where I interview authors. I also play gospel music because I have mixed platforms there. I have mixed formats there. I have a combination of the gospel music as well as where I interview authors from around the world. That is on Saturday mornings from 6 o'clock a.m. to 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. You can hear that show during that time slot on gobrave.org. That's GOBRAVE.org. For those in the northern New Jersey area, it's on FM radio 88.7 FM. We're also on the TuneIn radio app and other platforms as well. If you type in the search bar Brave New Radio, we will pop up WPSC 88.7 FM, gobrave.org. And again, you want the gateway to all of my various social media sites and everything else, just go to my website, marcamedley.com. MarcAmedley.com. Until the next episode, be aware, be safe, be blessed. And I look forward to being able to share with you again, but give some thought to what I said in terms of customer service. It continues to go deeper and deeper down. This is your host, Marc Medley. Be well, be aware, be safe.